And in the salute to our nation's flag by Councilwoman Hernandez and invocation by Mayor Pro Tem Noble. Will please stand at 6 o'clock.
Bow heads. Most heavenly and gracious Father, we come before you once again to say thank you. Thank you for waking us up this morning. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. Thank you for allowing each and every one of us to be in your midst. Father God, we ask that you bless those that are not here and bless those that are on their way. Father God, we ask that you bless those that need your open hand. Father God, we ask that you bless those that need your loving touch on their healing hands to make sure that they are able to be. Father God, we ask this and all your many blessings as we continue our meeting this evening, and we ask that you continue to bless each and every one of us this afternoon. We ask this in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cruz is absent for tonight's meeting with an excused absence, and all others are present.
Thank you. For readings I must do. Participation is invited. If you wish to be heard on any item on the agenda, please ask so and indicate by filling out a speaker request card and handing it to our city clerk. This is prior to the agenda item being addressed. If special accommodations are required or were required, a 48-hour notice would have already been given to the city clerk. In this meeting, we will treat each other and the public with patience, civility, and courtesy, expecting the same in return. The decisions made tonight will be for the benefit of the Barstow community and not for personal gain. Public comment closed session. This is the time and place for the general public to address the governing board on matters on the closed session agenda and within the city's jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. All requests to speak must be received prior to the agenda item being addressed. If special accommodations were necessary, a notice would have already been given.
Once again, I'll keep saying this over and over and over. City manager, you walked into a hornet's nest. You got a pretty big job ahead of you to go forward and go doing what you need to do. But I will tell you this: you have walked into a pile of crap, and we understand what you walked into. And I know we're not seeing eye to eye, and it doesn't mean I don't respect you. It just, I want you to know from me, I understand everything you've been put into. Our streets are a complete mess. Funding was never done for it. Yeah, it's getting done now, but that's just the tip of the iceberg of what you had to walk into. And so I want you to know that personally from me. Litigation, 4 years. 4 years. Still don't know what the dollar amount is. We don't know. We don't know what the cost and damage is. We don't know. But you can bet I'm going to find out. And you can bet I'm going to let the people know. People want transparency in their government. I understand, why sometimes the public doesn't get the information. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you're trying to protect us. But don't forget, it's our money. It's not your money. It's not your money to go do what you want to go do with. It's when you make a vote, you should be thinking about the taxpayers. It should alarm you what the taxpayers are asking for. They're not asking for play nice, let's get along. They're demanding that we get transparency, truth, and honesty from us. That's the deal. They spoke loudly. So we're sitting up there and putting things on the back burner. It's not gonna happen. It can't happen. We gotta have a little more respect for it. I really mean this, Mr. Esposito. You have walked into a mess. It's like Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. It is tough. In my opinion, the things that you had to deal with, which were not good, you dealt with them in a good way, in my opinion. I understand why some of the decisions that you have to make, that you make them. I understand why we can't let some things out. So I just want you to know that from the bottom of my heart. So I appreciate it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate you for acknowledging.
Your light's on too.
Okay. My lights are?
Your headlight, your inside light.
Okay. Thank you for recognizing that. I appreciate that. Okay.
We have no more comment.
Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion as well as a second, as well as a vote to go into closed session.
So moved.
Okay.
A motion is passed unanimously.
Yes, I do understand that you do like me today, Mr. Williams. I like you today also, sir. Appreciate
1, public employment regarding the interim city manager and city manager positions, and 2, conference with legal counsel regarding potential initiation of litigation. On both items, the council provided direction to staff and council and took no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you. This is going to move us right into our regularly scheduled 7 o'clock meeting. We're about 2 minutes behind, but I'm sure we'll make up the time because the agenda appears to be quite light this evening. We'll be led in invocation by Diane Lopez from Crossroads Assembly and a salute to the nation's flag by Pro Tem Noble. Please stand.
Thank you, Mayor, for having me tonight.
Welcome.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I be present in this meeting tonight, that you would give wisdom to our mayor, to our council members, and all of the leadership that's here tonight as they make decisions. Bring unity, let there be peace, and may your will be done, Father, in our town and in this meeting tonight. We will give you all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Ready? Begin.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for the prayer. Thank you so much. Okay. Got a few readings I got to do here. Roll call again, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before we begin tonight's meeting, I need to state that Councilmember Cruz will be joining us this regular meeting by Zoom. This meeting is being conducted utilizing the reasonable accommodation under the Brown Act, under Attorney General's Opinion 23-1002. And with that, all members are present.
Thank you. Good evening, Marilyn. We don't see your face, but we understand you're present. Few readings. Participation is invited. If you wish to be heard on any item on the agenda, including any item on the consent calendar, please so indicate by filling out a speaker request card and hand to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being addressed. If special accommodations are required or necessary, a 48-hour notice must have already been given to this city clerk. Code of Ethics. As your elected and governing board, we remember the Code of Ethics that we voluntarily and unanimously approved. During this meeting, we will treat each other and the public with patience, civility, and courtesy, expecting the same in return. Decisions made tonight will be for the benefit of the Barstow community and not for personal gain. Review and approval of the agenda. This is a time for members of the governing board to call for rearranging the order of the agenda, adding items to or remove items from the agenda, or remove items from the consent calendar for discussion and or separate action. Items may only be added to the agenda as allowed by state law, including Government Code Section 54954.2, Subdivision B, allowing measure items to be added by majority vote and allowing items that arose to the city's attention after the agenda posting deadline, but which require immediate action to be added by a 2/3 vote to the council members present at the meeting, or if less than 2/3 of the council members are present, a unanimous vote of the members present. This is your call.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to go ahead and ask that we table the presentation, item number 3, for our next scheduled meeting to ensure that, the family for Mr. Baca and others are present.
Okay, so noted. So we will pull agenda item 3, waiting for notification from the family, as well as the staff. Thank you. Okay, if that's the only thing, well, I'm asking for a motion as well as second to approve.
I'm in the queue.
With that, yes,
I'd like to pull 7 and 8.
7 and 8.
Pulling 7 and 8.
7 and 8 for further discussion at tonight's meeting. Okay. Vote, please.
Councilmember Cruz, how do you vote?
Noting Councilwoman's absence.
Yes.
There you go. Okay. There you are. Welcome.
So motion is approved by tabling item 3 to the next scheduled meeting and pulling as items 7 and 8 for for further discussion.
Okay. We would address your concern, right, Councilwoman Hernandez? I'm just thinking my screen just started working all of a sudden now. Okay. The voting screen's not up on mine anymore. Okay, so all approve? Okay.
Yeah, I think, Mayor, that was approved.
Okay. Moving right along. Consent calendar public comment. This is the time and place for the general public to address the governing board on all matters on the consent calendar. Speakers are asked to limit their comments on all consent items to 3 minutes or less. Our request to speak must be received prior to agenda item being addressed. If special accommodations are required or necessary, a notice would already been given to the city clerk. City clerk?
Yes, we have one on item 5, which is the approval for travel of City Clerk Flores. Mr. Williams?
Welcome, the Honorable Mr. Williams.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's the first time you're going to hear that honorable with my name. I think it's very important that the city is doing the training and stuff. So anytime we get an opportunity to get our staff out there, it's important. The community needs to understand that these things are important for all of us, for our council, for anyone that's serving our community. The stuff, the knowledge they learn, you're not going to learn it all at once. It might take you 3 or 4 times or 10 times. But, you know, it is important. And the city, the citizens out there should understand how important that is, that the more education you guys have, the better off we are. And so I approve this 100%, and we need to see more of it. So appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
That is all the comments we have on our consent, and with that, I'll go ahead and read. Minutes. Item 4, the minutes for the regular meeting held October 21st, 2024 at 6 p.m. The recommended action is to approve minutes as presented. Item 5, the approval of travel for City Clerk Andrea Flores to attend the League of California Cities New Law Seminar, December 11th through 13th in Napa, California. The recommended action is to approve travel for City Clerk Andrea Flores to the League of California Cities City Clerk New Law Seminar on December 11th through 13th, 2024 in Napa, California. Item 6, the resolution 5193-2024 for a temporary street closure within the city of Barstow in accordance with Section 21101E of the California Vehicle Code for the Christmas tree lighting event. The recommended action is to adopt Resolution 5193-2024 for a temporary street closure within the city of Barstow in accordance with Section 21101E of the California Vehicle Code for the Christmas tree lighting event and waive the full reading. And with that, that is the end of the consent calendar.
Thank you. Noting that we will discuss agenda items 7 and 8 momentarily. Okay, I will accept the motion as well as a second to accept as
So
presented.
moved.
Vote, please.
Councilmember Cruz, how do you vote?
Yes.
A motion is passed on consent for items, to approve items 4 through 6.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hernandez.
Thank you. On previous council meetings, Councilwoman Rose has made an issue over the 501C approval. And I noted in this promotional that they have applied, but it won't be approved for 180 days. And I don't want someone saying that we make exceptions to the rules. So if fellow council members are in agreement that that's acceptable, that's why I pulled that item, because I don't want someone from the public then saying that we're not abiding by the rules.
And council member, if staff could address that, because we have had one exception from the council before. So Maribel, you want to address that?
I'm not sure if you recall, back in February when the Youth Community Promotional Fund applications came forward, we had some issues with some organizations that did not have a current 501c3, and the council allowed them a grace period to get their issues in order.
So was that the same situation in this case?
It's similar situation. The applicant did provide proof that they did submit their information to the IRS, but it does take at least 180 days for them to update their status.
And I am in full support of this group. This has been going on since I've lived in Barstow. And I think the community looks forward to the mineral show, and the kids get to get a bag of all different stones and learn about the desert and our Mojave National Park and where these kinds of rocks can be found. So I have no objection. I just didn't want that we have any issue brought up later, so.
Thank you for that explanation. On the queue, I see Councilwoman Rose and then Mayor Pro Tem Noble. Councilwoman Rose?
So I just want to make clarification that I didn't have an issue. I had a concern, and there's a difference. Concerns on these. And I know that when they first came to us, it was the council that had to make the decision to not make a decision on half of them because they were incomplete, more than half. They were incomplete, so we had to pull those and say we cannot move forward with this because these applications were not complete. That's a concern because it should never get to the council level incomplete, anything. When we're presented with an item, we're trusting that it's complete and that when we start to review that we're not catching these things. So that occurred. And then we did give a grace period, and that is a concern because the grace period should be, I would have to go back because I don't have it in front of me. What time frame was the grace period? Because we should give a grace period 30 days. And I believe we also talked about a training on these, that the city would provide some type of training so that the applicants would be able to navigate the what's expected of them to have a complete application. And so I am concerned that how long is our grace period and how many more are coming? Is there one more coming?
No, this is the last of the applications. And there really isn't like a deadline for this program. It goes until the funds are exhausted. So technically this, since it came with the original batch, it's still part of the original amount. There is a $5,000 contingency fund that is set aside for any applications that come after throughout the fiscal year that could apply for those. Working with these applicants, it's on a one-on-one basis because each one has a different need. Each applicant had a different issue. And so, when we met with them, they provided us the information. Like it notes on the staff report that they didn't have another nonprofit.
Anything against this as well? I think it's a good thing, and in my opinion, it should be approved tonight. However, moving forward, I think that this process needs to tighten up. It needs to tighten up. If we're going to have a beginning date and an end date, we stick to it. We have the training, and we should post this well in advance so those applying know what they're up against. And then if there is a grace period, that we're very clear as a council or as a city prior to getting into council what the grace period is. This was a hiccup. So again, I think that it's something that we should approve tonight, but I cannot stress enough that this process needs to be tightened up and a lot more clear for the applicants and helping them through the process, even though we have the contingency fund of the $5,000. But this is a one-off, and we shouldn't hold it against the individual because our process was somewhat flawed.
Right. And I did have a backup plan, a partner, if necessary, because I called a nonprofit. So I was prepared either way it would go, that it would be a go, so.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Mayor Pro Tem?
I don't have any question. I believe she answered my question, but the other question I did have is, once they receive their nonprofit status, are they going to bring it to the city to make sure that it is put into their file?
Yes. And so then if next year they come back again and they reapply for the same event, then that's something that'll be, that's supposed to be provided with their application. Right. We have the rules and, under rules and policy, we have that policy going back because it's outdated and there's a lot of things that it is missing. So it's something that we are going to work on getting correct and cleaned up.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Rose, I see on the screen.
I do.
Yeah,
I have a
okay.
clarification question for Councilman Hernandez. When you said I had a backup plan, are the council's responsibility to reach out to the applicants, or is it the city's responsibility?
It was neither, but I was concerned because it's been such a long term that they have done this community event. So I, on my own, in case the problem, I contacted a nonprofit as personal, not as a council.
Right. We don't change hats, Councilman Hernandez. We don't. We're council. Ability to reach out to somebody I know to pair them up with somebody, or is it the city's?
Well, that's a conversation that we have with the applicant because it's listed on the policy that that they need to be partnered up with a nonprofit organization. So that was an option that she did have as well. But like it states on there, they didn't have anybody at the time. So, I mean, somebody else may have come forward to offer their nonprofit status.
I just don't want us to get into the sticky wicket of us as council members dealing with somebody on the side. I think that we need to kind of stay clear of that because that's not our role. So that's why I was trying to make clarification as to whose responsibility it is.
And when we do the policies and rules, we'll specify, since it's coming to that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you. I just want to make a comment. This is just to our senior manager. And yeah, I really appreciate you for getting the staff on top of this. I do recall the lively discussion about we had so many nonprofits coming up making requests, but we discovered that the majority of the nonprofits, which was over 50%, were only identified as nonprofits to their word, but nothing was documented, nor was it recorded. And we also discovered this had been going on for years. So thank you, Mayor Bell, for getting on top of this and clearing up our files, getting them cleaned up. Thank you. So with that, I see nobody else on the screen.
We do have
Any
comment.
public comment on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Our first speaker is Mr. Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. My question is, what is the policy concerning this? Is there a time frame that these people have to respond? And is it in writing and is it given to them when they file for these grants? That way you would stop these things from happening by having a set policy. Don't extend it if you don't have to. I can understand what they were saying about the one that goes up at Dana Park all the time. But they've known this for years. They've done it for years. Why didn't they have their 501c set up already? That's their problem, not ours. And I think it's good that you gave them an extension, but 6 months extension to me is too long. I think you need a better time frame to get these people to respond and have them respond properly to you. Because you're elected official to represent the people, but you have to have a consistent policy. This is inconsistent the way this policy's been done, and you need to have one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. So noted. Please be aware, in my previous comment, we don't know.
You. One thing you guys are missing is making sure that your insurance of whoever's covering this event on that nonprofit is also there, because when you use somebody else to put on the event, you're gonna have to use their insurance. When you allow someone to use your physical insurance for an event that you have nothing to do with, but just using your name, liability becomes a problem for the city and everybody else around it. So it's very important that every nonprofit's got to carry that insurance. And I'm sure they're going to have it, but when you're teaming up with folks, both parties need to be on there, not just the one that's trying to do the event. It's very important. But the gym show, we used to do the gym show as the youth football would always do their snack bar for years and years and years. And Mr. Courtney, you're right. There is an issue where sometimes the process is flawed, and you guys learn from it. This is just another learning experience. But taking the IRS insurance or the IRS nonprofit, it doesn't take that long. It really doesn't. Once you get your process in there, you make the phone call. The determination can be done right away, even if they're backlogged. I've never seen it take 6 months. And but in the process, just make sure you got your insurance covered, because the city's going to be responsible for that.
So noted, and thank you, sir.
We have no more comment on this item.
Okay, Councilwoman Rose, I see you on the screen.
I have one last question, because Mr. Williams brought up a really good point. So my question would be, who did this, and where would we be documented? Where would it be documented who this, I'm just trying to read, I'm sorry, who's the nonprofit that they partnered with?
No, they're
Did
not
they partner
partnered.
with
No,
anybody?
no one's partnered.
Okay, so there was no partner.
No.
If they were to partner, that would be listed?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
To approve?
I so second.
Okay, vote please.
Councilmember Cruz, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the motion is passed
Thank
on
you.
item 7.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 8. It's you again, Councilwoman Hernandez.
Thank you. My only concern had been on the 3-year lease and whether they were a 501c, since we are having them pay only $1 for the 3-year lease. And staff did provide verification that they are a 501c. So that's the only reason for pulling that one. I wanted to ensure, and that everyone had read the contract, that they will be responsible for the utilities and the things they should be, repairs and whatever. Because quite often in the past, I don't think we've been as explicit as we should have been. I also like the fact there's a time frame, because in the past, I don't think we had any specific time frame. So that's my only reason for pulling that item, so that the council would be aware that it was a 301c and that it was valid.
Thank you. See no one on the screen?
We do have
Public
comment.
Okay.
Our first speaker is Mr. Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. I have a question. How come this wasn't offered to any local 501s? The renting of this building? I mean, the person that's renting it is not local, is it? Somebody from out of town? And you're going to rent it for $1 a year, and they're going to be permitted to make a profit, which the city doesn't profit by? Dollar's not going to spend for anything. And what happens, their corporation, if they don't pay their sewer and trash bills, how do you get your money back? How do you get our money back, I should say? The tax money. I was just curious why it was rented to somebody from out of town and not offered to anybody locally. Was it advertised? I don't remember ever seeing anything. And shouldn't it have been advertised local, that someone locally could take advantage of this? Thank you.
So noted, Mr. Hernandez.
Our next speaker is Mr. John Williams. No, he passes. We have no more comment on this item.
Okay, and I see no one on the screen. So I entertain a motion as well as a second. We'll vote on this.
I so move.
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Okay, it's you, Councilwoman Cruz.
Okay.
Okay, vote please.
Councilmember Cruz, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving right along. Agenda item number 9. Professional service agreement between the City of Barstow and Main Street Murals for the production of the murals along Main Street. Our presenter is our very own City Manager, Mr. Andrew Espinoza, Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members of the public. The professional service agreement between the City of Barstow and Main Street Murals, or MSM, for creating murals along Main Street expired on July 31st, 2024. MSM is now proposing its services again to help the city enhance the downtown area through the creation of new murals. The proposal from MSM is outlined in Exhibit A of the contract, which details an expansion of actually the original program. This will involve MSM partnering with Barstow School's art departments to develop a roadside electrical box art project. These efforts will contribute to the existing gallery of historic murals in the Barstow downtown Main Street district. The murals aim to revitalize and beautify the city, attract tourism, and foster educational creativity within the community. Additionally, MSM will keep producing marketing materials, maintain a website, and promote painting and educational events to ensure ongoing visibility for this expanding project. A successful walking mural tour has been organized for the general public and tourist groups, with murals available for viewing on the city's webpage. MSM will be required to do 2 murals for each fiscal year, maintain the existing murals, including graffiti removal and repairs for any damage. The contract is for $40,000. It's up $5,000 for the new roadside electric box art project. And the reason staff brought this to you, before you today, is because not only for the contract, but where the funding is coming from. For the last 2 years, the city of Barstow has funded this program through Measure Q. And through our discussions, we wanted to make sure that if this was the route that the council decided to go this fiscal year for this contract, to keep it in Measure Q funding or to find general fund funding to keep this program going within our community. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay, this contract is up, went from 35,000 to 40,000?
Yes, sir. And the idea about that is to start and develop a roadside electric box art program. So what we wanted to do is provide an avenue for our youth artists to be able to create something with a Barstow theme and actually paint that on one of our electrical boxes that we own. So we've identified several of them throughout on Barstow Road, Virginia Way, and Main Street. This hopefully will provide an opportunity for them to actually paint something on the street that's not graffiti, that they can showcase their artistic talents, and that program to enhance that cost about $5,000.
So we would consider this graffiti art?
No, it's not graffiti art. It's a way to allow those artists not to participate in any graffiti and have the opportunity to showcase their talents on an electrical box with an appropriate artist scheme that will enhance Barstow.
Okay, so it's art that may look like graffiti, but it's really art. Okay, I got it.
Art, yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Rose.
Mr. Espinoza, can you please repeat what you said about the funding? Because right now it looks like the funding is coming out of the Community Promotional Division.
Measure Q.
And you spoke of Measure Q. Can you?
Yeah, that's the Measure Q funding.
This.
Yes, that one right there is the Measure Q promotional fund. Now, so this fiscal year, we didn't budget this. The contract expired, and we weren't able to get it worked out before the fiscal budget, so we did not budget it. So as we worked with MSM to bring the program back, we looked at where the funding came from the last 2 years, and it came from the Measure Q Community Promotional Fund. And I believe that started in 2022, I want to say the research showed. But with all the discussion that the council has had with Measure Q funding, I wanted to make sure before we just move forward with that we brought this for discussion. And we told you it was coming out of Measure Q the last 2 years. If you would like us to continue with that, if you approve this contract as is, then we will do that. If you'd like us to find other areas of funding, we can do that as well.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I just got a couple of questions. The right now the payment is $10,000 each, and that's an increase from previous.
The $10,000 is quarterly, yes, sir. But the last 2 contracts were only for $35,000 for the contract. This contract is for $40,000.
And why the increase?
The increase is for the new electrical roadside box art project that we were trying to develop with our youth in high school and junior high to give them an opportunity to create some type of art that's appropriate with a Barstow theme to it on our electrical boxes.
Is that something that we're going to be able to review prior to it?
Absolutely.
Prior going up?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And where it goes up at?
Yes, so it only can go on electrical boxes, which the city of Barstow actually owns. And we've identified several of them through the Barstow area, Barstow Road, Virginia Way, all the way to Main Street, and then down the Main Street corridor.
Okay. And then the other question, back to the funding. We were pulling it from Measure Q. Is there other funding areas that we could pull it from that doesn't affect Measure Q?
There is general fund funding. However, we did not budget it in this fiscal year. So so the answer to the question would be no. We'd have to take it from Measure Q fund, or we would have to revisit this at mid-year and try to find general fund money to support this program.
But if we take it from Measure Q funding now, can we put it back into Measure Q funding once we get the funding from the other general fund?
Ooh, that's a good question. Sydney, is that
something possible?
something we can do?
It can be done, yes. But I'd like to take the opportunity to review mid-year first to see where we are currently with the expenditures before.
Can you put your speaker on?
Before we commit to, expending general fund dollars, because then, if we end up expending the 40 grand from general fund, we move it back to Measure Q after that, then we've actually utilized something somewhere else that's already pre-planned for budget, so.
Well, I would ask just to take a look at that.
Okay.
Please. Okay? If we can stay away from Measure Q funding and utilize it for what we intentionally had it for. Okay?
Okay.
I believe that was it.
On the screen, Councilwoman Rose, then Councilwoman Hernandez. Oh, okay, I'm just going by the order. Okay, thank you for the courtesy on that. Councilwoman Hernandez, then Councilwoman Rose.
Thank you. I wanted to know how many murals do we have in the city?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer off the top of my head, ma'am. I'd have to research that.
And I appreciate the breakdown you provided for me, because my thing is always about budgets of how, the money's going to be spent, not just, so I'm glad that Main Street Murals provide this information. They're projecting that 2 murals per year, maintenance of murals at $25,000. And that cost includes artist fee, materials, and production expenses. I would like it, well, I would have preferred a little more breakdown, but, that's a given that I appreciate that was provided. Marketing materials and bus tours. Do they charge for bus tours? Because I thought.
I don't think so. No. In all our meetings with them, no, they didn't say they charged.
They didn't, okay, so I just wanted that clarified in case, that comes up. And then brochures and flyers, is that going to be updated? How often do they do that? That's why I want to know how many murals we have, right? And then as we add to it.
Yeah, I know they update them as there's additions or even, how do I say, renovations to the old murals.
Right.
For example, the most recent one that they did was behind Templo Drugs.
Right.
On that north side, or on that south side, that whole mural is new. Even though we were outside of contract, they still did that and refurbished it and put it up. So now they'll be updating it that they did that.
Right.
In the pamphlet.
Well, that's what I want the public to know, because they're people for art and people not for art. But the intent here is to provide tourism to our community. And I'm glad that they classified, they do 12 bus trips, and they're saying $10,000 for that, for the brochures, the marketing materials, and the bus tours. And the other thing, the electric box you've already discussed. Yeah, because when I saw the 40,000, I went, okay, well, how are you going to spend that?
Right.
So I appreciate the information. But I would like to know how many murals
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have, you know. And I would assume that in their brochure, there's a listing somewhere,
There
you
is.
know, in their
I just-
locations.
We just don't
You
have it
know,
with us.
sometimes, you know, we go along and then we forget to ask the basic baseline. Well, how many do we have? And, you know, and I would appreciate it if they would give a report as to how many individuals they do are included in their bus tours, you know, when they do them. And,
Oh.
yeah. Because I know I see people just walking around and taking pictures. But, so folks can't say, oh, you're just throwing money out there and you're not holding, as Mr. Williams would say, transparency and accountability. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rose?
Thank you. Well, first of all, the Community Promotional Fund includes a lot of other events that we hold within the city of Barstow, correct?
Yes.
We do,
I'm not sure.
correct.
Right.
But we do fireworks and all of the other stuff. So I believe that it's in the appropriate fund because we already are having all those other big events. The Christmas tree lighting, is that going to be under this fund as well? Because this benefits the whole community, correct? And we've already been doing this. We've already
ma'am.
established it. So I think it's in the appropriate area for this. To pull it out of general fund, I think that could be a little muddied. I think that it should stay here. And in future, if we can come up with something different, but I like where it's being pulled from right now. Yes, we are very protective of Measure Q, but Measure Q was meant for X, Y, and Z. This right here is a community, what do you want to call it? It's for the whole community.
Right.
As far as moving into the materials and bus tours and the brochures, these brochures that they put out, is it something they put out, or does the city review the brochure?
No, ma'am, we don't.
It's
They
theirs,
put it out,
correct?
yes.
Okay, yeah.
They provide us copies, and we put them in the front lobby, and we pass them out, but we don't produce them.
And can you explain to me about the bus tours? There's 12 bus tours. Do they just pick somebody up? They have an event, they pick people up in a bus? How does that work? That's what I thought. It was a wagon, not a bus.
I think they do both.
They do both.
They do both.
Yeah.
But I don't know the exact route. I was hoping that Dean would be here.
And from what I've seen in past, there's quite a few people that participate. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty, with all due respect, on how many are on the bus, because I know these are big events, and I know that I've seen it with my own eyes, that whoever wants to participate, they participate. And I think it's a wonderful thing, again, to showcase our city. Would definitely need a continue to facelift what we have right now. So I really like it. But that's what I just really wanted to touch base on, was the cost is not unreasonable. They are responsible for so many things, and we're bringing in the youth with their creativity, and this is what we want to do. We want to bring them into, we want the buy-in from our youth too. They're going to be doing something for our city. Can you imagine? It could be your grandchild or your daughter, your son, and the whole family is going to show up and say, oh my God, this is what our little child did. A sense of pride, a sense of community, and I think that's what this is doing for us. So I like this, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hernandez?
Yes. My only comment on Measure Q is that people have questions, well, how you're spending it and whatever. And I would like to see us down the line have a workshop with more specifics as to what we project for the next 5 years and what the expectations are. When we originally started, it was public safety, and we were going to hire this, and we were going to do engine, but I would like to see that in the future.
Thank you. Public comment?
Yes, sir. Our first speaker is Mr. Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. Well, first of all, this was budgeted out of general fund, and the fire was budgeted out of the wastewater fund, or the trash, rather. All this funding that's being taken out of Measure Q for other things other than what it was set for, I would say. But you don't have a budget on this thing. You have a promotional fund with a blank check, and you just write it out every time something comes up. And you increase. At one time, all this money came out of general fund. Now it comes all out of Measure Q. I would like to see you put a limit on how much promotional fund you're going to take out of Measure Q. Because there are other things. A good example is right now, our streets are falling apart. You can take money out to fix the streets, but you don't do it at a do we actually have in town? This has been going on for 10, 15 years. If they were doing 2 a year, they'd have 20, 30 of them. Where are they located at? And which ones are being kept up and which ones are not being kept up? And who gets the kids that will be doing it? They don't get paid a salary. Are the people that are painting this getting a salary? As a city paying them a salary to paint these paintings? Or is it just one individual getting the balance of the money that comes out? I realize that you have to have, they give you a design of what they're going to do, and you have to make the final improvements. But you have no list how many pictures are being taken care of every year and where their locations are at. And we should have locations, and they should be someplace at the city, not only online, but like you say, a brochure at the city. Their current addresses, just like the monument signs. That's something else to promote Barstow. That's what it was done for. But all the locations putting down with something that you give to a person that comes in. And the one by McDonald's is people are always standing up there and taking pictures of that monument sign. And I think it's great. It's a good way to promote Barstow. But I think you need a better accountability how this money's being spent. And you need to stop taking it out of Measure Q. It's not a piggy bank that you can hit whenever you want.
Okay, there we go. That number is 26. My wonderful co-host looked it up. So there's your answer, 26. So we can thank the person next to me for being smart enough to look it up online. Paul, we're going back to Measure Q, aren't we? Boy, I another apology to you. You were right again. General fund, right, city attorney? Just stick it in general fund. Don't worry about it. That's what we do. It's general fund. Don't worry about it. That's what you told me one time standing up there. You said it doesn't matter. It's general fund. Why even discuss it? It's funny how you tell me it's general fund, and yet we'll discuss it. Those are the kind of things that upset me. Those are the things that bother me, is that you'll tell me to my face it's general fund. So what? do we want with it? Yet we're discussing it. So this is exactly what the citizens are telling you guys. We're sick and tired of finding these things out. You know, Paul was absolutely right when we battled out there in that drive out in front. And I said, hey, this is good. He says it's good if you do the right things with it. But he said general fund. Remember how you guys get that passed, right? You put it really tiny where you couldn't read it. It wasn't in big letters. You didn't say, hey, general fund. Problem. That's another example of government not being transparent. But when you say, oh, you're transparent, you put it so tiny, you can't read it. That's why this is why the state of California is in so much trouble. You don't know what the hell to vote for. Because when you do, it's so damn small, you don't even know what you're doing. And that's what you did to us with Measure Q. Think about it. And I agree, you know what? At this particular project, I don't care where the funding comes from. But at the bottom line is you owe the people the transparency of what you did. And Mr. Courtney, once again, I have to say you're right. I hate doing that, but you're right.
So noted, Your Honor.
We have no more comment on this item.
Okay, I do have a comment on this item. I think this is a great use of our public funds. $40,000, that's quite a conservative number. The murals, they're all over town. I didn't realize there was 26, so thank you, Sonia, for that. I would definitely encourage the city to consider to support this program, and maybe even considering getting more, even more involved with the direction the Main Street Murals is going, because I know that they do the tours, and they're also are planning to bring in like a trolley car, so it's just one. It's like a bus, but it's like a trolley. So it looks like a trolley. So you'll see it going all over Barstow every single day, and people will be able to get on it and get off it, get on it and get off it, through their future plans and program. So yes, great use of money. Great use of money. So any more public comment on this? Okay, I will entertain a motion as well as a second to support this item.
I so move to approve.
Okay, vote please.
Councilmember Cruz, how do you vote?
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Agenda item number 10. I believe this is the number we've been looking for. Approval of the new position, Community Development Manager. And our presenter is our top building official, as well as Fire Marshal. And I believe he has another title too. I'm not sure what it is. Mr. Chris Hildreth.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item you have before you tonight for consideration is a new position in the Community Development Department. This position will assist with the big project, grant management, intergovernmental service agreements, which is IGSAs, CDBG funding, management, budget management, financial and audit aspects of grants and contracts, and will provide administrative oversight for the Administrative Services Department, Planning Department, and the new Economic Development Department. After our engineering service administrator retired, we started looking into a lot of the grants, a lot of the paperwork, and all the funds that are associated with the engineering department. We've realized that it's a monumental task. We are so far behind in keeping those funds up to date and utilizing the money properly that we are now asking for help in consideration of a new position to help us manage that aspect. Some of the things that, me personally, the one thing that I'll say is whenever I first started in the community development department, there was a community development director, there was a city planner, there was a building official, there was a fire marshal, there was a city engineer, and city planner. Now we have one. I like to assess things. I like to tread water as long as possible, and then I would ask for help if I do need assistance. I don't ever want to hire multiple people and then not have things for people to do. But this is one of the items that we are in need of, and that's why I have that item before you tonight. And I'm willing to answer any questions.
Well, I'll start with comment on this, and perhaps even a question. I was really excited, actually delighted to see this on the agenda. You're right, and I appreciate you for giving a little history of all the leaders we had previously in process to build and create a better Barstow. Now, the better Barstow showed up, and we're in dire need for subject matter experts and directors who can move us to the next level. So thank you for bringing this to us. Thank you, Mr. Andy Espinoza Jr., for bringing this to us, because this really shows the possibilities, but more importantly, it shows the awareness that we know where we're at and we believe we know where we're going. Thank you for that. Councilwoman Rose.
So I do have some questions on this one. So on the fiscal impact, it says the salary savings from the unfilled positions in fiscal 25 are available to support this position through the current fiscal year. The vacant planning and community development administrative position will be underfunded for fiscal year 26, and the staff will appropriately budget for this position in future fiscal years. So my question is, why wasn't this broken down for the council members? Because I had to do the addition myself. If I look at the employee classifications, I look at the community development director. No, excuse me, back up. I look at the community development manager, which is this position, and I compared it to the community development administrator that's vacant. There's quite a difference from the bottom end to the top end of the salary. Can you tell me what the difference is? Because I can do this here. It looks like 12, the lower end is $10,661.32 for the position we're being asked to approve. The vacant positions, the low end of salaries is $8,149.56. The high end of these positions, the one that we're being asked to approve tonight, is $12,878, I believe, in 27, and the high end for the vacant position is lower, $9,000. So why were we not given the difference so that we don't have to figure it out ourselves? I mean, we could, but we shouldn't have to. Because it's transparency of how much more this is going to cost versus the vacant position that's funded right now.
Correct. And I believe that there are several positions that are being used that are unfunded or were not hired for in this fiscal year, besides just the community development administrator or director. So we've had promotions and we've had vacated positions. So there's a collaboration of salary savings that's available for this position in the current year. So I believe the reason why we didn't bring that just in black and white is because there is so much movement, so much volatility there that we just wanted to discuss it in person. Right. So the plan going forward, currently with that unfunded position, there is enough salary savings to cover the position for the rest of this fiscal year. Moving forward, without filling the director position, and as well as unfunding the planning position, but we did do the analysis and we did determine that it would fit in the budget.
I
can elaborate
and-
just a little bit more if you would
But
like.
I just want to say that I understand what you're saying, but I do want it in black and white, because I look at a position here that I believe you may be referring to as a vacant position, the Park and Recreation Superintendent position.
No, so
No?
let me elaborate
It's
just a
hard
little
for
bit.
us to
Yeah,
figure
no,
out what's vacant
Yeah.
if we're not told what's vacant and see it in black and white.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the analysis.
Yeah, no, and I understand. So the approximate difference between the two positions is $64,000 for the next 7 months. I did all the math on it. The thing is that the current compared to the two positions, the issue and what the reason why that position will be unfunded. We will utilize the remainder of the budget this year to offset this new position's cost. But the reason why it will be unfunded is because that position has been promoted to an economic specialist, so that position is no longer in or being utilized. That went into effect on the 12th, I believe, this last pay period. So that position will not be utilized for the remainder of the fiscal year, and we will defund that position in the next fiscal year. And that's the planning and administrative community development position. The other salary, and I'm just talking about community development department. I'm not talking about parks. I'm not talking about any of the other departments, just community development. For example, we had a promotion from a code enforcement officer who promoted into the parks division, actually. And on the low end, it's approximately $5,000 a month savings for that position, which has been unfilled for it's going to be approximately 5 to 6 months by the time we actually bring that person on. The other position that has been sitting there vacant that is funded was the office assistant position. That position's been funded, but it's been sitting vacant because that individual promoted into the finance department. So currently there is no office assistant. Currently there is no planning and community development administrator, which is approximately $45,000 if we're being generous or conservative. Those positions are hopefully going to be filled by the first. The other side as well. So with just those two positions, that's a $45,000 savings with the code enforcement officer and the office assistant position, and that's being generous. It might be more, and then besides the fact that we're now going to have an 8-month vacancy for the position that will be defunded for the next fiscal year, there will be an increase. So that's just for this fiscal year, to running us out to June. Once we get into July, whenever we're in the new budget, we will budget accordingly because it will be an increase of approximately $60,000 moving forward in the new fiscal years of 25, 26, I believe is the next fiscal year. So we will budget accordingly from there. The other thing that I wanted to point out is we've never utilized the IGSA money for the positions to actually do the job. I remember whenever we had the first conversations about the IGSAs, and I made it clear that I didn't want to bring anyone on until we actually assess the need. We currently bring in approximately $1 million a year with the funding from the IGSAs that I manage myself. So with that, we haven't touched, or that money goes into the general fund. We've never utilized any of that for salary. So that's what is being asked, and that's what I mean by we'll try to budget accordingly in the next fiscal year.
I appreciate that. So in a nutshell, it would be nice to have a little something, an analysis, so that we can follow it, and it's in writing. This is where we're going to pull it. This is where we're planning. This is the savings. That's what I'm looking for, because really this tells me a whole lot of nothing. And so I appreciate you telling me what you just told me, but I'd like to see it in future in writing. And I still would like to see the analysis because, you know, a year from now was, okay, did they say they're going to do this? Is it here? And to be able to follow it. And I think that's important for us as council members if we're being asked to approve something, that we know exactly where the funds are coming from and the savings. Or if it's surplus, because right now in black and white, when I wrote it down, it looked like we were, you know, we don't have enough.
Yeah.
My next question would be, will this position oversee because it talks about grants, would it entail the homeless grants that we would like to provide?
If the community development department is assigned that grant, then we'll do our job, of course. What I was referring to in this one is that $6 million, the $6.9 million grant that we received, that we're in potential of losing, you know, because we're not progressing with it. That this position will manage that. There's another one that we brought maybe 2 months ago. I think that the city would potentially be having to have a cost sharing of that, approximately $2 million, I think is what the number was back then. They will be managing that grant. They're basically going to take over all funding with the engineering department to oversee it and to work with the consultant city engineer to get projects done. The big thing is that there's a lot of paperwork to do with grants, and this position. Whenever you ask, you know, no disrespect to any of my staff, but whenever you ask, you know, an inspector, someone that goes and inspects, you know, buildings, hey, I need you to sit here and manage grants and go through all the paperwork. They're not the best. They're not the best choice to do that. We all accommodate and we do the best we can, but bringing somebody over that can actually do that job will make the city. It'll get us out of a lot of hot water from Caltrans and all the agencies that we have to deal with.
So,
And
But
to add to
with that homeless, I mean, if we're assigned to do that, of course.
the other grant, the other money is Measure I money, SB1 money, development impact fees. There's a tremendous amount of money that comes to our city from the state. And the council asked me to review that department, especially when our engineer left, to see what projects were going, what street projects are being funded out of Measure I and SB1 and all those different, you know, funding sources. That's what this manager is going to do. And we had to make a tough decision to see, do we freeze that analyst position and convert it to this position? Where is the need really for the city of Barstow? And so for us, no offense, man, but we see it. We put it together. We could do this, and we know. We set the plan out. We know the plan. We go with finance. We know where we're saving the money. We come and we bring it to you. We bring it and we summarize. Hey, we have the money. We know how we're going to have the money, and this is the best thing for the city of Barstow. Not only to meet the goals and the requests that you made for me, but also so that we are managing millions of dollars correctly. We're reporting it correctly. Where those grants have milestones that have to be met, we haven't been meeting them. We've come to you twice already with apologies and saying, hey, we're sorry we missed this. We have to go do this. It could result in a loss of this money. All that will be alleviated with this position that we're creating today. And we had to make that tough choice of not filling one position. And where does the city of Barstow really need that funding to go? That salary savings that we're talking about, where does the city of Barstow really need that to go to help us be a better city, to be able to meet these obligations that the state has for us with all these different funding sources? And this is the best thing that we came up with.
thank you. I do want to respond by saying, no offense to you, sir, but I'm not a rubber stamp, and I'm going to ask the tough questions because I want to know where the money's coming from.
Ma'am, they're not tough questions. These are easy questions. They're not tough questions.
They're tough for me, is what I'm trying to.
We just don't
sir,
usually
they're
put
tough-
that kind of
They're
detail
tough
in.
questions for me because I want to understand where the funding's coming from, and it's tough for me to ask the question because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, where are we pulling the money from? How are we making this up?
No, and that's what it is.
So you see the bigger picture, I get that.
Oh, no, if you look right
But
at
I'm
those.
asking for a snippet
yep.
of where the funding's coming
No,
from.
I agree. And if you looked at if you looked just at the salary schedule, there's questions. I agree 100%. I would, I would take as many positions as we could get.
But I
But
just
weren't
want to say,
trying- we just never, when I have been in this position and I look at past positions that we've brought to you, this is how the city of Barstow has brought positions to the council.
And
This
we-
is the format that we use, this is the explanation that we use, and we usually have a discussion here in open session in front of the community to explain those things to you.
And we have also asked for more information. We want more information on the fiscal impact. I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next question. So again, I just want to make clear that this has nothing to do with grants for the homeless and everything else. I just want to make that very
Yeah,
clear that that's
no.
not what this is. Okay. So
I mean, we could do it, but
No,
no,
no.
it wasn't the intention,
Okay,
no.
thank you. So my other question would be, so the staff recommends, this is under recommended action, staff recommends that the council approve the community development manager position, which will be hired at the discretion of the city manager. I want clarification on this, because if this is a new position, it should be going out to be flown?
So, well, yeah, but the way we always bring the positions to council is, because the city manager is the one that makes the administrative or the day-to-day operations of the hiring.
Absolutely.
And that's why we always just throw, or I always put at the discretion of the city manager. So whenever the city manager says that, yes, we can go hire the position, then we go hire the position. But that's all I meant by it.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't like the way that it was worded at the discussion, and I understand that's the operations, that the city manager has that authority, but I just want to make sure that we're going to have an application process, the interview, so that is an EEO fair across the board.
Yes,
and-
ma'am. We have a policy in place for
yes.
that. So we always follow policy in our hiring policies and procedures. So I'm sorry, that's a given. We're going to follow that. We follow it every time.
Well, it's just that the way that it's read it at the discretion could be anything. It could be interpreted that they're going to be handpicked right away. But yes, we have a policy, and I just want to make sure, because it doesn't, the way it reads can be a little confusing. So that's why I asked the question. And it's, basically.
I would answer that with saying that I would follow all policies and procedures and all authority granted to the city manager under the personnel rules and regulations. I would answer it that way.
And that maybe should have been written in here, so that it's very clear that, that however the reading is. So I just want to make clear that we are going to be following that. And I'm sure we were, but I wanted to make sure. That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thank you. And the only question I have, the position description, has that already been created for this position? Because based on the number of things that this individual will be handling, has that already been created?
No.
And
No, we haven't created the job description yet. This is the first step. I don't want to waste Darcy or Human Resources Department's time if we weren't going to move forward, because it takes time for her to reach out and find the job descriptions and make it, mold it to what we're asking for this job to do. So it hasn't been created, but it will be after the decision tonight.
okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Hernandez.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked about the job description, because that was on my list. And I know this is so badly needed, because there's so many contracts out there that have to do with managing engineering funding, which is what supports our infrastructure. And the fact that we haven't had any monitoring in that department, and I appreciate staff acknowledging that, and the necessity of this position, because we're already enough in trouble with Caltrans, and I haven't heard anything from SBTA, and I hope I don't. But I know how are we going to keep track of other contracts that we have within the city? Because it seems to me that there isn't that communication across, and there should be some central format or whatever that, okay, engineering, this is important because we're talking about millions of dollars in here, but our other grants, how many are split? I know Councilwoman Rose said about homeless and whatever, but how many grants does the city have? I'm not asking numbers. I'm talking more in subject matter that the city keeps track of. Is it just engineering? Are you with me? What
Yeah.
other departments get grants, and who keeps tracks of that?
I can answer half of it, and then I'll let our CM finish it. But every department, we don't have a specific grant writer to just that somebody's out
Yeah, I
there
know
going
that.
to get it. So what happens is that staff's made aware of a grant opportunity, or they see a grant, and sometimes staff's proactive and they're looking for grants. And what they do is they write the grant, staff writes it, whichever department it usually
It
will
falls
fall.
under. Uh-huh.
So like I know, like for us, yeah, we have the majority of them underneath engineering department. But there's hazard mitigation, which Genesis is running. She brought that one, I think, to the last council meeting, or the other one before that. There's multiple grants that are in the community development department. But I do know that there's some specialty ones that are out there, and I'll kick that one to the CM because I know the police department has some as well.
Right, and I know environmental has some, and whatever. I
Right.
guess where I'm coming from is that the city manager position should have an overall chart or whatever, or format within our computer system that keeps them aware of what's going on, and I, having been a supervisor, I know that I would meet with my staff once a week, and I would have a list of what reports needed to be done and the time frame and whatever. So I'm just trying to come around to how are we going to fix that?
I've been talking to the CM about this as well, and I'm a pencil paper guy. I have to see it on a piece of paper for me to understand. And I do believe what I'm going to task this position to do is to get with every department, the police department, every department, and we're going to create a spreadsheet of every grant and every funding source and shows, we've also been talking with the finance director about showing the funding source and then breaking it down what it goes to. And then we would also do the same thing with, for example, they have the police department has a grant. This position will create the spreadsheet, but then we'll put who's responsible for it next to it.
Okay.
So police department
That's really where
/ captain.
It needs to be, because any grant that we want to know about, we go to finance. We can ask them with the number. We tell them what number, if it's a 219, 219, 219. That I know that's our Homeland Security grant, or that's our cops grant. The PD has about 7 to 8 grants. We just got the cannabis DUI grant, $225,000. That's monitored by the captain in our own department.
Okay.
And then we report that, because every grant we accept, every grant that we assign a number through finance, really is approved through the council first.
Right.
That paperwork goes to finance. Finance creates either a revenue account or an expenditure account, or both, and tracks that for us. So any grant the city council or anybody would want to know about is tracked to them.
Right.
The
And the
problem
time
is once
frames?
the problem, yes, and those time frames range from usually you have about 3 years to do it to 5 years for completion, to some of them have been 7 or 8 years. The problem is that not everybody knows each grant in every department. In his department, just off the top of my head, in the last couple of days we've been going over this, there's about 18 to 20 grants that he's managing in his department of major money. $700,000, $55,000, $1 million. That's where that alone, in just development and streets projects, that alone is millions of dollars. So we have to keep track of that. So what we talked about is, even though we're from the PD, we need to make sure that that grant is being monitored for all those milestones within those 3 years or whatever the grant life is. Because if we don't do that, and we get to the end of the grant, which you have seen,
We won't have
we
any
won't make
money.
it, and we won't have funding. Possibility we won't have funding. And that's what's terrible, because some of the grants are pre-funded, where you can actually lose money and they could take money back, and some of it is reimbursable, where you have to put in the invoice to get the money back.
Right.
And if we're not doing that, then the city of Barstow is seeing no money.
Right.
So that's why Chris and I we're in the process of developing this management position to kind of be the hub of keeping track of all of that.
Okay.
If we were to go out to get another grant for, let's say we got a homeless grant, and we were able to hire a homeless
Right.
coordinator, then that could fall into this category.
This hub.
Even though it may be assigned out to somebody else to monitor, it's in this hub.
It's in the loop, so
It's in the loop.
everybody knows
and this
what's
manager
going on.
monitors
and
it.
finance knows what's going on.
Exactly. And knows when those trigger points are, when those milestones have been met, so that paperwork is done so we don't lose the grant. And another thing just to keep in mind is that when we falter on these things, it hurts our credibility and our ability
With other agencies and the city and
future funding and
state
future grants with the state and the
county.
feds.
Yes. And
So that's why
feds.
it's so important.
Yes. No, I understand. And I wanted that out there, that's the purpose behind this position. We need a hub, and that works with finance. Because I won't even discuss what finance has done in the past, hiding funding. So the councils did not know, and I won't give the time period. So, no, I am completely in favor of this. Anything that is going to make your job easier and is going to benefit our community and also inform our council as what we need to do and what we need to keep track of, because we don't want to lose any funds, and I know how close we have come to that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Public comment? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Rose?
Thank you. So I have one more question. So looking at the employee classification spreadsheets, and I know that it's saying that, we're going to adopt the resolution if it's adopted, approving this with the approval date of November 18th, which is today. But in future, or is there a reason why we're not highlighting what has been added? Because this job description has been, or the job title has been added with the salary, but I had to find it and highlight it. And if it's highlighted, and we've talked about this in rules and policy as well, if the change is actually visible to us in red, it would be a lot more transparent to say this is what we're adding, and then the effective or the amendment number 1, November 18th, should also be in red, because if it's not passed, that goes away. If it's passed, then it's blended in. So my question would be, when the other unfunded positions go away, this should be coming back to us, omitting or striking through those positions, correct?
Yeah. So, well, twofold. Whenever because if you would, while you're briefly reading through that, there's a lot of positions in there that are in there, but they're just not funded. So the city, in what has happened is anytime, if you go with the mid-year or you go with the actual budget for the fiscal year coming up, you'll see we're asking for positions to be funded, and I believe we track, hey, it's an increase of 2 or whatever it is. So that's when it comes from your mid-year and your fiscal year. The reason why that has so many other jobs on there, because I'd say maybe 30% of those jobs are unfunded currently in the city's budget. So the only way for us to actually hire that position or to bring the positions is for a council's decision. If it's not already in the budget, you have to come before council. That's why we're here tonight, is to get that added to the list. Now, if it was already on that list, and that's why the position's not on that spreadsheet that you're referring to, if the position was already there, we still have to come to council because it's not a budgeted position. So council would have to make a ruling of saying, yes, we want to fund that position. So we're not going to just, I don't mind removing them, but the unions usually do not want us to remove those because if you start taking away positions on there, then they disagree with that. So usually we keep them. Doesn't mean they're funded, though. They're just unfunded.
Right, and I totally agree with how the unions see this.
Yeah.
I agree with them wanting to keep it here, but is there a way to put another column at the very end or some way to identify which ones are not funded? Because they're not abolished.
Correct.
They're
Right.
there.
Correct.
There's another form we have that does exactly what you're saying. So I would be reluctant to take it off just because.
No, I'm not asking for it to be taken off. I understand why the
okay.
unions want this here. I totally would fight for that as well. What I'm asking for is transparency for us as council members and even for the general public to know what's not funded. Because there is a lot of them in here, and I'm looking at these things, and
There's a lot.
and it would be nice for us to know so that we keep that in our little file back here in our folder, so that when we are asking for something to be funded, we can follow it and go, to that little file and say, oh, that one's unfunded. We're
What we
bringing
could
it
do
back.
what we could do is when we bring positions like that to you, we can print that a document out that will show you what's funded and what's not, and include it in the addenda, because if you want that information, you could see.
The other,
Because there might be 6 or 7 positions in there, and only 1 or 2 are funded.
Right,
So
so
we'll print that out.
can we get that emailed
So,
to us?
Just to clarify, this is the publicly available pay schedule. We also have budgeted positions, which are the actual positions that are active and budgeted in the fiscal year. That's a separate document. That is a working document. So HR goes through when they do recruitments, and they add where the funding is coming from and different things of that nature. And I think that's more what you're looking for. I would need to verify that it's okay to send that out, but I'm sure with legal's approval, we can get you an email of that.
All public employee salaries are public information. So my guess is everything on that document is public. The only asterisk would be certain medical information, certain medical payments and benefits information is not public to the individual. It is public in general. So what we can do is take a look at that document, confirm it's releasable, and then get that out.
I'd appreciate it so that we can follow, because, I want to be able to refer to something down the road. So I appreciate that. So in future, if we can highlight what's been added,
Yep.
so that it stands out.
The one other positive is that whenever the finance department they create the next fiscal year, you'll also see the previous years. So the one that's coming up in 25-26, it'll show the previous years of like what our department spent. Just say community development, for example. Just say it's $1.5 million on training and all the budgets and all that for the entire department. And it will show full-time employees and what the jobs were that were available in 24-25. And then for the new proposed budget, you'll see 25-26, and you'll see that, that position's no longer there, and it'll show a 0 next to it, which means we defunded the position.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, this is, asking for more, but I'd like to, on this kind of a list,
Welcome back, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. My question is, the person you're wanting to hire is going to be monitoring current grants he won't be establishing new grants, only to monitor current grants. And when he monitors a current grant, will he have a staff? Or does he go back to the original person that wrote the grant to just find out a progress report? And is that progress report reported to the council so they can know what's going on in the grant system? Because if you're going to set somebody up there and they're the ones you're asking them to approve this, you should be able to have the person come here and present it to them so they know what's going on. So they're not kept in the dark or find out after the fact. And then the grants that have time frames that are coming due, what happens to those if they go away? Who gets blamed for that? The person who wrote the grant or the person that monitors the grant? My next question is, there used to be that you could take a percentage for a grant writer. Can we utilize any of that to pay this employee? I'm just curious. If you go for a grant and they allow you to have a grant writer, and we have a person that's monitoring that grant, could a portion of that money be used for their salary? Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person is Mr. John Williams.
Welcome back, Your Honor.
Appreciate it. It sounds so weird, like I'm standing in front of a judge. First of all, we need this. Hell, we got over on the chief. Hell, we made him do 2 positions, only paid him 1 time. We're winning on that. That's the kind of stuff we need to do. I got a simple solution to this whole problem. Don't hire an assistant city manager and make this new person do that job too. I mean, I love it. I mean, we're saving money, so it's fantastic. And we're going to save more money because an assistant city manager is going to cost more. Plus, when the chief goes back to being a chief, he's also going to be the assistant city manager as well. So we're going to get more free stuff out of him. It's fantastic. What I do have a question, though, since everybody's so happy, though. You won't be happy after this question. How are we paying the current staff that's doing the military contract? We're making $1 million, but I thought someone just said that we're not charging the staff. So, my question is going to be is, what are we paying the entire staff to run the military contracts when we're making $1 million? What is that? What is the labor cost? What is the cost of all that happening? Because we talk about $1 million. It's not a whole lot of money when you start paying salaries and taking that stuff all out of there. So it was just a question I had for that one. And then what does it cost to run that contract? I mean, there's $1 million. I agree, it's a lot of money. But if we're not counting the money going out, then when they tell you it's $1 million, well, it's not really $1 million, but it sounds good. But we appreciate the chief over there doing multiple jobs. It's a precedence now we're going to set forward for anybody else that gets hired. It says when you come to the city of Barstow, we're going to make you do 4 or 5 jobs, like Maribel and Chris and the chief. So we're winning. I think right now that's 6 jobs right now. We just don't have to worry about it. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
We have
So noted, sir.
We have no more comment on this item.
Okay, I believe we've had plenty of discussion as well as comments and remarks on this item. I will entertain a motion as well as a second to move forward with this newly created, very necessary position.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Excellent. Vote, please.
Councilmember Cruz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations. Okay, general non-comment, public comment. This is the time and place for general public comment to address the governing board matters not on the agenda and within the city's jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less.
Okay.
All requests to
I'm
speak
signing
must
off.
be received prior to the agenda item being addressed. If
Okay,
special
I'm
accommodations
signing
are
off.
required, a 48-hour notice must have already been given to the city clerk. City clerk?
Yes. Also, before we move on, Councilmember Cruz has left the meeting, and there is still quorum present.
Thank you for that notification.
Our first speaker is Miss Teresa Tank.
Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. After the last council meeting, the CM stated to me that he doesn't believe my numbers, only those that come from the financial director. So I wanted to clarify one thing I didn't say, which was the estimate of $956,188 included $30,750 in utilities for Route 66 Animal Shelter. What I'm confused about are the runs that are on almost every agenda, are they not made by the financial director? Is that not what these numbers come from? I ask because my numbers come directly from these runs, which include the direct payments to Route 66 and the utilities for the shelter. I know the CM has a better overall picture of the invoices that don't name Route 66 directly, like the vaccinations, vet visits, and individual invoices from Tractor Supply or other companies. The one number that I have yet to be able to verify is the $517,300 that the CM himself mentioned at the special meeting in June, which was about $100K more than what the runs show from October 2023 to June 2024. I also don't find a check from 9/29 for $30,000 that the CM mentioned at the 9/29 policy meeting that he had paid that morning, unless it was added to the 10/7 payment, but then one would think that there would be 2 checks or invoices listed for that date. So if the CM thinks my 956 estimate was wrong, how about I use his numbers from June with the July 3rd through October 25th numbers of $546,928.60, which includes utilities, but nothing extra like I mentioned above, because that would definitely take us over $1 million. If I'm so wrong with the numbers that are posted for anyone to see, why hasn't the finance director been asked to tally up those numbers to include all of the other charges that aren't itemized directly to the shelter mentioned above and see where the numbers really stand? That would solve the problem once and for all, wouldn't it?
Excuse me. Can you identify yourself again and your role?
My name's Teresa Tank.
And your role?
I have no role.
You have no role, but you're with Route 66?
No, I am not with Route 66.
Okay. Thank you for being a concerned citizen. Appreciate you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, sir. You know, I found it interesting when Tex was bringing up the the contract with the military. And I was wondering, don't they do a cost allocation of staff time against that? Nobody's mentioned that. And I know for a fact that you spend an hour a day, a week out there taking care of different projects. So shouldn't your salary be allocated against that funding? And if other employees are working on that different projects to deal with that contract, shouldn't their costs be allocated to that funding? We shouldn't just have $1 million sitting there and taking their whole salary out of the general fund when it should have been cost allocated against the other funding. No one mentioned that. They also have a place out in Linwood that's raising cannabis that's not conforming with the regulations in Barstow. We have an air quality thing going on, and they were cited by the Air Quality Board, but are they still in business? And can you not terminate that business because they're not fulfilling their obligation of putting in a better quality of air putting out than what they're doing. And it's only 1 out of 5, and I don't understand why no action has been taken yet. Someone brought it to my attention that a minor had gotten cannabis candy. I'm curious about that. Isn't that being monitored by the city? And how can a child, a minor, receive cannabis candy? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. John Williams.
Welcome back, Your Honor.
Thank you. Hey, just want to give you guys an update. The high school football program did an amazing job this year, and I'm hoping that you guys will get them in front of you guys and our cheerleaders, because they've done an amazing job. And then this Saturday, I will be in Sultana. All 4 of our teams are in the Super Bowl. You know, that F word is very powerful, developing strong kids out of that word. And then we have a cheer competition this Sunday at the high school. So we're going to be a pretty packed place. But I just wanted you guys to know that, once again, our youth, which are important to us, our high school students, those cheerleaders, those football players, an amazing job this year. And we're super proud of all of them, and we want to make sure that we want to let them know that. And so if you can get them up here after we win the Super Bowls, then we can get you guys some more rings. So what is that, about 14 rings now?
Thank you. That's fabulous.
Our next speaker is Miss Sonia Ray.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome. And congratulations.
Thank you. I just want to address the animal issue here in town. Ms. Tank mentioned we've worked up to $1 million on this animal Route 66 issue, but I don't see any of it going into animal control. And the reason why I'm bringing this issue to it is because my 85-year-old grandmother is now afraid to go into her own secured yard because dogs keep getting into it. A year ago, these 3 dogs killed one of my grandmother's dogs. 2 weeks ago, these same dogs got into my grandmother's yard again for probably the 6th time and attacked her other little dog. So now my grandmother can't even use her own property for her pleasure. She has to look outside the door and make sure those dogs are not in her yard. So person's residence, which we know where 3 of these dogs are coming from. Since the dogs are secured in the house, there's still nothing that they can do. We have photographs. We've watched them jump over the fence. We've watched them jump in the yard. We've watched them jump out of the yard. Now there's a gang of 4 of these dogs that are going into my grandmother's yard. So this gang is growing. This is an issue for my grandmother who cannot even use her property. She's afraid to go outside. She's afraid to walk to the car. She can't let her dog outside anymore because for fear of these dogs coming into her yard again for the 100th time. And all we're told is, well, if they're in their yard, you can take care of the problem, if you know what I mean. And yes, those words have come out of city officials and police officers' mouths. So what I need to know is, where's the $1 million that we have going? Because it's not going to animal control. If you go on Facebook and you go on rants and raves, at least once a week, I'm seeing a post on there of people getting attacked by stray dogs roaming the streets. Is it going to take a child getting killed by a stray dog, a pack of dogs, to get this issue finally settled? This is getting ridiculous. Like I said, now my 85-year-old grandmother can't even go into her own yard with peace of mind. She can't walk to her car because she's afraid, because these dogs keep roaming around and there's nothing anybody will do to help her. And I would like to say kudos to the police department. They have been very nice. They've been as helpful as they can be, but nothing else can be done. And that's what she keeps being told. So I would appreciate if we can get something done, some type of animal control, so at least my grandmother can enjoy her yard and I don't have to worry about my daughter walking to and from school getting attacked with some dogs. Thank you.
Thank you. And so noted.
Our next speaker is Bishop Frederick Darcy. Darby. My apologies.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening to you and to the City Council. My name is Bishop Frederick Darby. I am a fairly new resident of Barstow. We have been living here for the last 4 years, my wife and I. I wanted to introduce myself to our mayor and to the council. I'm the pastor of the Ecclesia Bible Church. Presently, we are in the city of Long Beach, and I have been since moved here. We do our our drive weekly, midweek, and our Sunday worships. In short, it's been placed on my heart and spirit to relocate my ministry, Ecclesia Bible Church. And instead of making all those miles weekly, Sunday and weekly, I live here. I drive around this community. I live here, again, as I said, and what we do in Long Beach, quite frankly, would be more beneficial here in the city I live in. We have a active, we call it Ecclesia Closet. We have an active, present food ministry as well as a clothing ministry, which would be very beneficial to our community, those that are without, homeless, etc. I had the opportunity to, it was forego to me to come and meet, introduce myself to the council, to the mayor. We are in the present looking into property to relocate our ministry here in Barstow. All three of the properties are right here adjacent Main Street and here in the actual local community right here. And where much of the need for what we do and represent would be very needful. I only came today to introduce myself and to, I am familiar, I'm connected with the Long Beach Council as well, and I'm detaching myself from that perspective to get more involved here where I live. And so I just wanted to make myself known to that degree. I will be coming to many more meetings. My realtor shared with me about the meetings that you all have here, and this is my first one coming, but definitely not my last. And so I look forward to many more meetings and to seeing what we can do to help our community. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Barstow. Yeah, before you leave, in the very back row, Mr. Curtis Cleveland Jr., the gentleman in the very back. He serves as one of my executive assistants. Please speak with him so I can get your information. Will do. Thank you.
We have no more general comment.
Okay. Staff reports. Agenda item number 10. Mr. City Manager, you have anything you want to speak on at this point on your report?
No, sir. I filed it, a written report, as I always do for this one. Just wanted to make sure that everybody knew about the ribbon cutting tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the morning for the new First Street Bridge. And then we will have a tree lighting ceremony on December 6th. I don't have the time yet. Do we have the time? 5 to 9. 5 to 9. Out in front of City Hall. Yes, out in front of City Hall. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Okay, City Council committee reports. I'm going to start to my far right. Councilwoman Rose, and we'll just fall down. I'll be the last one to speak. Councilwoman Rose, committee reports.
Thank you. So just want to report out that the Homeward Bound Committee did meet November 13th. Excuse me. And the only thing that I wanted to report out was that this committee collects many items that we can give back to the community. We collect water for the local churches. We collect clothing for the homeless. Right now, we're collecting warm stuff, blankets, mittens, men's and women's gloves, beanies, socks, anything that's warm. So I encourage the community to, if you find it in your heart to donate, please drop your donations off to City Hall, and we would be more than happy to ensure that they get distributed within our community. I do want to give our many thanks to Barstow Community Hospital, who donated 400 pair of socks. This is pretty amazing, and they range from children all the way to adults. So thank you to Barstow Community Hospital for their generous donation. I also want to report out that the point and count is going to be January 23rd. And for those of you that don't know what the point and count is, we are asking for volunteers, and it's basically a critical survey to secure grant funding as well as other resources for local communities to assist individuals who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. So basically, all the volunteers go out to our community and to the desert areas, and they count how many individuals are out there homeless. So if you are interested in volunteering, please should they contact the city, Marybelle? And there is a flyer here. The next Homeward Bound meeting is going to be December 11th, 5 p.m. here in the council chambers, and the Rules and Policy committee meeting will be held November 26th, which is a Tuesday, 9 a.m. here in the council chambers, and we have a lot of policies that we are reviewing currently that will be on that agenda. And that's all for my reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. We met today for the Victor Valley Transit Authority here in our chamber today, and we were able to recognize a couple of individuals that work with VVTA, but also work here in the city of Barstow, and awarded them for their outstanding service that they do on a continuous basis here for the city of Barstow. And then we also have 2 of our board members that are retiring, Larry Bird, who's out of Hesperia, and Joy Jeanette, who's out of Atlantos. Both of them will be retiring out of the board this coming December due to one is retiring and heading back to Florida to spend some time with their family, and then the other one is retiring and going to enjoy life. Both of them have been on the board of directors for over 2 terms for each one of them, and they have done a tremendous job for the city and for their local city, but also for VVTA, and I want to thank them. The next VVTA board meeting will be dark in December. However, our next one won't be until January 21st on a Tuesday because of Martin Luther King birthday on the 20th of January. And then the next military affairs meeting will not be until the 10th of December, and that'll be at the Los Domingos at 8 o'clock. So that's all I have for community events.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hernandez.
Thank you. November 6th, I had the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority meeting, and they're basically discussing funding and long-range plans for our county, specifically more in the area, which I find interesting, is hydrogen as the future fuel as opposed to electric. They also discussed the mobility of trucks. So toll roads that are going to be going in and the intent of what to do with, hopefully, what they would have to do with excess, if there's excess money from the toll roads. And so those were the type of discussion. Then I came back here November 6th, and we had a street committee meeting. We will have a list of projects that will be started at our next council meeting. And I believe we planned it, is it for January instead of December? When are we having the next street committee meeting? We're going to have it in right. And then November 7th, I had the Southern California Association of Governments meeting, and they're going into long-range plans and the issues. We are not a coastal town, but they had discussions about how they're going to be able to deal with water issues. And so the coastal cities were provided with information as to where they can find assistance, and they had hydrologists discussing, and I gave a copy of the presentation to our city manager if any of the council members want more in-depth information about that. Then on November 15th, we had the Desert Mountain, which is part of the SBCTA meeting, and basically we approved Yucca Valley funding for plans and design for their Route 62. There's a lot of difficulties. There's a backup in that area there. And it's also part of the emergency plans. Let's say we had an earthquake, or they also have put out $1 million funding, so they're having a survey done as to what possibilities and alternative routes for that. So that's just the beginning. So that's Yucca Valley. We also discussed the improvements on Route 395, because they're having to purchase property to complete that project, and now they have the funding. So they're going to do eminent domain on those that they couldn't come to agreement. So we were down to 2, which really shocked me, that we had approved for eminent domain. And Councilwoman Rose has discussed the November 13th Homeward Bound Committee, and we also congratulate New Life Fellowship on the funding that they have obtained, and discussed their plans. And I think that's all the meetings till tomorrow on the bridge, and yes. So that's the total meetings for this month.
Thank you. All right. I'll update you on a few things that on my plate, and then I'll report the addition on the business of the council. It's interesting that you did speak of New Life Fellowship and the $354,000 that they have received this year through the COC, but more specifically through HAP 4 of the funding that comes from the homeless accountability money that comes through the state of California. As many are aware, I'm really blessed to be a part of that chain of funding. And the great news, there's more funding to come into Barstow through the COC. When I say the COC, that's the continuum of care is through the county of San Bernardino, and we have a focus on the non-housed residents. And when I say the non-housed residents, it's actually putting a roof over their heads for them to sleep at night. So it's nothing about the clothing per se or the food. It's really the specialty is housing. And there's definitely some great things coming on that. Let's see, committee, Together We Can. Together We Can is a group of nonprofits in our community that have come together to realize their sources to provide the blankets, the food, the socks, etc., that you heard Councilman Rose speak about just a moment ago. The Together We Can, their event is this coming Saturday from 1 to 4 at the community center. and there'll be socks, blankets, food, and then some made available to those who are in need. And that's this coming Saturday, the 23rd. Let's see. I attended the Veterans Program for Veterans Day at the cemetery. It was wonderful. It was a great event. All the entities were well represented, as well as the city of Barstow. Those who have really been paying attention to what's happening at the cemetery, we know our cemetery has had some issues, but it's getting better and better and better. My mother actually is buried in that cemetery, and I really hadn't paid attention to it until a few years back. And so it's kind of become kind of dear to my heart that the cemetery definitely improves its appearance, and it really is improving its appearance. I attended the CIF, California Investment Forum Summit and Group in San Diego. It was Saturday before last. With the California Investment Forum, I have an assignment on there. I have served Forum representing the state of California, continuing to help bring funding into the Barstow community. But my emphasis is actually the Northern Inland Empire. So it's all the cities in the high desert as well as the city of San Bernardino and Redlands. I'm really looking forward to helping to continue to bring funding up into our region. Many may have noticed that when our top billing official, Mr. Hill, just talked about the new created position, and in that position, it spoke about the individual has the responsibility for grant management, grant development, and hopefully evidence-based grant deliverables. I'm really looking forward to seeing that person do his or her work. A question was asked from the audience about is kind of part of that funding from the grants be utilized in the salary process for the person? Of course it can. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the city is going to use all that surplus funding that they're going to be able to retain and gain from having a competent grant originator, etc., in the city of Barstow. Very exciting times. And that's it for my committee reports at this time. I do have a HAP 5 meeting, I believe, in 2 weeks, but I'm not really sure right now. So we're going to go to business of the council. We'll start with Councilmember Barbara Rose.
So I think it's wonderful when we hear of so many events going on that are feeding our homeless, that are clothing them. You know, you can provide them a shelter, but if you have no food to give them, why provide them the shelter? You have to provide everything. So I love the fact that we're hearing that not only the Homeward Bound Committee is providing stuff for our homeless, but we have this event on Saturday. So it takes a village. So it's good to hear that there's so many people that are so giving, so many nonprofits that are so giving. That's what Barstow's all about, right? Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to, I would like to go ahead and ask for a second to get the high school football team here.
I'll second that.
Second, so if we can get them here at the next scheduled meeting, if it works for the high school, I would love to see them here to present. And this is just one of many things that happen in Barstow. I can mention a young individual, a male at Barstow Community College. He happens to be my little cousin. And I won't say his name because I don't have permission to say his name. However, he got all league. And then he represented in baseball or college at league, first team. And then he moved on, and he was the only individual, the only athlete that moved on to state. That just occurred not too long ago. These are the youth that we should be bringing to recognize because they are our future. We had 2 individuals, cross country, freshmen. One happens to be my grandson, freshmen. They made CIF at freshmen. These are the type of youth that we should be bringing to recognize. It's your son, your daughter, my grandson, could be your nephew, niece, but we should really be emphasizing and embracing what Barstow is about, and that's embracing our youth as well. I'd also like to go ask, I'd like for the city to look into the listserv. I've been told that there's a listserv that we send out to individuals that request this agenda, our council meeting agenda or a street committee agenda, that they're on a listserv and they get the agenda directly sent to their emails. I had a phone call and this individual said that there was more than one that has been concerned that they're not receiving the agenda. So could we look into that and find out if there's a glitch as to why they're not receiving the agendas? Also, there's been some complaints continuously and still with Channel 6. I'm not sure what's going on with Channel 6 because I don't have Channel 6, but this has been an ongoing issue and somebody needs to get it right. As far as why we're having the glitches, I don't know what's going on. Our simple little microphone at this podium keeps cutting out. Yeah. What's the issue? Let's fix it, please. I also attended the Veterans ceremony at our sad-looking cemetery, I have to say, but it was a wonderful event, and I hope that in future that we can partner with the county in regards to the cemetery. More to come on that. And I also went to the Veterans Home for the cake cutting. It was a really good ceremony, and it was nice to see the veterans up at the home. My last two things would be animal control. Mr. Espinoza, can you again explain to us and to, if you're prepared to, about animal control? Because we do have somebody that we are resourced out for animal control, correct?
No, ma'am. We do not have, the city of Barstow does not have any animal control. We have an animal shelter, which houses dogs and cats. But currently, we do not have any services for animal control. Our police officers are handling that as auxiliary duties. And really, they can only do it if they have time for the vicious animals. Any animal that's potentially vicious or dangerous, the officers can go and handle. They remove the animal. They also respond to some of those calls about dogs being coming out of their yard or things like that. But currently, we don't have animal services in animal control officers.
I'm sorry, but I thought a while back that it was, I'll have to go back to the meeting that there was somebody that we were contracting out with animal control. So this should be a concern for every one of us council members and a city as a whole. This is a liability, and we really need to come up with the animal control almost immediately before we, in between trying to figure out what we're going to do with the shelters. But this is something that, yes, we have the police officers, but as we know, they can't do anything if the animals aren't there. So we really need to address this, and we need to address this quickly because this is a liability. So I don't know how the council feels about it, but we need probably a second to make this a priority, the animal control itself.
Well, let me comment on that. This is a priority and has been a priority. If the council does not sabotage the efforts to make animal control be a reality, we would have something in place right now. Because if you recall that our CM had put together a very defined program with animal control and then some in it, and at the last minute he got sabotaged and we were back at square one.
Thank you for
So
your comments,
I do
Mr. Mayor.
I do
It's
pray
my-
at this
it
time
is- it
that
is
we
my-
do that.
It is my minutes, please. So-
Excuse me. I didn't interrupt you when you spoke. So all I'm saying is,
still speaking.
we cannot sabotage the efforts of our staff, specifically our city manager, in getting things taken care of for our city, care, custody, and control. We do understand the liability, but we cannot be the liability ourselves. That's all I wanted to say.
Are you done, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I'm
Thank
done
you.
for
I'd
this
like to go
moment.
ahead and get my time back because what
Of
I'd
course,
like
you can
to
have your time back.
What I would like to say is that there's no sabotaging. That's a really, really strong word. It's called accountability.
I know that's a
Mr.
very
Mayor,
strong word.
It's
It's the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. It's called sabotaging. We need to stop sabotaging our staff so they can do their job. That's all I'm saying, Councilwoman Rose. I'm just telling you the truth.
So I didn't believe that my 6 minutes.
You can have your time back, ma'am. I believe that's a sign from God.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
So I didn't believe that my 6 minutes was open for discussion. Basically, when we talk about the animal control, and I'm asking for that because it is a priority, it's a liability, and there's no sabotaging. It's called accountability, and it's accountability on our funding, accountability on what our resources that we do have, like the Humane Society, period. It's called accountability. There's no sabotage whatsoever. Moving on, I do want to ask about the VVTA meeting that was this morning, because I had one of the residents in my district came this morning and had mentioned that these bus stops are still going to be down the residential area. We've had a few complaints on them. Can you give us an update on this individual?
Actually, are you talking about Agarita?
No, I'm talking Arbor Way.
Oh.
And the individual came this morning and then called me earlier today to say that those bus stops are going to stay. And so I just wanted to get some kind of an update on VVTA, because there is concern. Arbor Way, Agarita, residential, there should be no reason to have these bus stops. And there was no, we talked about this before, there was no, not one resident was informed that these bus stops were going to be popping up. They just showed up. Can you give a little report of what's going on?
Yes and no. That wasn't all that happened. It was put out. It may have not got put out to certain residents, but it was targeted. Of it went up, but we addressed most of it this morning at the meeting. Mr. Goldman got with each individual and discussed the plan moving forward to try and rectify some of the issues that they, or the concerns that they had. One of the issues were Arbor Way. I wasn't aware that was an issue. I was aware of the other one. However, we did address it. We are looking into it, and it's going to take a little time for us to figure out where we're going to move some of the bus stops and some of the local stops. But we are going to move them out of the residential area. It's just going to be a little portion of that where we're going to have to sit down and discuss further on where we're going to move them for the future. The first one, what is it? Agarita. That is going to immediately stop probably this weekend. And moving forward, we're going to look at putting it back in the original location, and then look at further options later on down the line on where we're going to move the other bus stops.
Thank you for that. I hope that we immediately stop Arbor Way. It's actually a smaller, more narrow road, and there's at least 3 that I know of bus stops on that short.
Yes, we're looking at it. We're not dismissing it. Well, we are looking at
Right,
it.
but
and stuff.
Agarita's
But I wasn't
being done-
aware Arbor Way was
Right.
that.
I'm sorry that
was
that
it.
wasn't relayed to you, but Agarita Way is being immediately done, stopped. There was a complaint by somebody there, and the complaints that are on Arbor Way should be no less.
I got you.
And who it is that lives on Agarita versus who it is that lives on Arbor Way. So
Gotcha.
if we can do an immediate stop on Arbor Way as well, because that bus also was speeding, and there has been quite a few residents that have said that bus stop is speeding, and there's barely enough room for a bus to go down that street anyway. So if we can really, I would urge that we immediately stop Arbor Way as well.
We are addressing both of those issues as we speak.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, thank you, sir. And just a few things. The air quality in Linwood, can we just relook at that, revisit that one? I was there the other day, and my spouse brought it up, the smell. I didn't smell anything, but she smelled it. So just relook at that. I also want to congratulate the football teams, the high school and the Aztec, the little ones as well. I have a little one on there too that's going to the Super Bowl. And so I am very, very happy for all four teams, and I hope all four teams come back with the Super Bowl. I want to welcome Reverend Bishop and to the community. Thank you for moving from Long Beach to Barstow, and I hope that whatever we can do as Barstow residents to open our arms to you, and hope that anything that you should need from the city of Barstow that they're willing to assist you with. And I also attended the Veterans thing this past weekend, and very good, successful. A lot of turnout for those that we honor our veterans and so forth. I will be at the ribbon cutting tomorrow morning. I look forward to the First Street Bridge, and I hope that the community comes out and support that. And then on the 6th, where we talk about the tree lighting, I look forward to that as well. But we're doing it here at City Hall and not at. Okay,
Right.
that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. And
deal.
I'd like to wish each and every one of you a happy Thanksgiving. I look forward to seeing you after the holiday season. We got Christmas and New Year's coming up, but for right now, just want to wish each and every you a happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and look forward to seeing you at our next council meeting. And with that, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Hernandez.
But I said, there's nothing to say.
Okay.
No. I attended the Veterans Memorial at the cemetery. I was kind of disappointed because I'm used to seeing so many folks out there, and it concerns me is our youth. The Boy Scouts always used to go, the Girl Scouts, and none of that happened. And are we forgetting about our freedom and those who have fought for it and those who have been in the service? I also went up to the Veterans Home, and that seemed different too. So there's a different perspective from my having attended for so many years. And I sure don't want to see that community spirit disappear in our community. I'm glad that you addressed about Agarita, because I wanted to know about that area and the bus stops. And I think sometimes things get taken for granted or assumptions are made, and that's how these kind of situations come up. I'm also concerned about the lack of animal control. And I'd like to know the address where your grandma lives, because I used to walk all over Barstow. Anybody that knows that was, and now I do it at the college for the very reason, even when we had animal control, the dogs that were loose. And it got to a point it wasn't safe for me to walk in different neighborhoods. So I understand that concern, and we are trying. Wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And how about our community count our blessings? Because that is how I see Barstow. That we can all have our differences, but when it comes to a need, that we all join together to help each other. And I hope that that's the spirit we bring into the new year and with the new council. And Mr. Williams, I want to welcome you aboard. Your seat is waiting for you. And I think and I hope that we can all be a team and work together and appreciate each other's differences, and that we can show that we can still get along. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hernandez. Well said. Yes, tomorrow, bridge opening 9:30. It's another great example of working with different levels and different years and different leaders within our community to bring something to reality 90 plus years later, which is our bridge. We can all agree that it was a very difficult challenge over the years to come with the $80 million plus, but the reality with us working with the feds, state, regional, local, county, and of course our great city, we were able to make another reality, which we used to call a dream, come true. So definitely tomorrow morning at 9:30. Hope it's at the Harvey House. It starts inside the Harvey House. That there's a great turnout. Jan, Main Street Murals. Congratulations. And I appreciate you for continuing to believe in Barstow and what you do, because it shows. And I've already signed your contract. I just signed it a minute ago. It's up in the stack of things right here. Let me tell you, way to go. And I'm looking forward to you continuing to bring your hopes and your wishes and your dream for helping to build a better Barstow alive. And I'm trusting that trolley car, aka bus, whatever you call it, it's in the near future. So just continue to do what you do, and you'll see dreams do come true. Congratulations. I attended the Marine Corps Ball, which was in Victorville. It's always nice to be able to get dressed up and to go out and represent the best of the best. And it was a wonderful event. It was last Saturday, and to be able to be amongst the military, but specifically on this occasion, the Marines, and eat some of the cake and the dance and whatever. It was a great event. So I definitely encourage the council as well as the new council people, specifically in this remark, a council member, the Honorable Mr. Williams. Looking forward to seeing him in his shiny shoes and his tuxedo and all those things as he goes out and does what he does, represents each and every one of us. To all the council people who sought to be sent up in these seats, I congratulate all of them who put the effort into doing what they feel they must do. And at the same time, I give them this. The council as a collective is a success. We do what we do because we believe in what we do. And yes, there are times that we do not agree, but the majority of the times we do agree. And you'll find the greatest of leaders often have to stand alone on what they believe is necessary, which is true. And in the end, believe it or not, it's success. it really is success. So I'm really excited for you, Mr. Williams, the Honorable Mr. Williams, to be sitting up here, because my mom always said it's always good to get a taste of your own medicine. So trust me, you'll be well medicated when you start sitting up here, and you're going to discover, things you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, but our best interest always is to do what's best for Barstow as we build a better Barstow. So you can trust the day that you're sitting in your first meeting, I'm gonna be sitting probably where you're sitting right there, and I'm gonna just be throwing you kisses and hugs and everything else. Okay, but I won't be texting you things I should not be texting you. Okay, it says that's not gonna happen. But I'm looking forward to you sitting up here. Yeah, nothing like that. Because I won't be texting you things I should not be texting you. Let's see. I'm going to go through my notes and make sure I didn't forget anything. Oh, something I was going to say. You guys are going to be hearing a lot about the California Investment Forum and how it's going to benefit our community, Barstow specifically, going into the new year. Because, yes, there are a lot of federal funds. We're talking about billions of dollars that start at the feds and trickle down into our communities. In my community, which I was born and raised and I love and I support, is 92311. So you can trust going into 2025 and then some that I'll be definitely supporting our wonderful community just in a little different way, because I'm totally behind the city council, because now you guys are my council people, just like I got my new president. I got my new president too. So now it's 9:28. Coming to a closed session, we said it was going to be a brief meeting. It will be a short meeting because we only had 2 or 3 things on the agenda. But as Mayor, we're famous for having these long meetings, even when we have 2 or 3 things on the agenda. So with that, happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays to everyone. If there's nobody opposes, the meeting is adjourned at 9:28. Good night.